But so traditionally, if I said, hey, Brooke, where would you want to put an ad to get in front of me? You'd probably say ESPN, Monday Night Football. You would say, live news and sports.
Yep.
However, Is It Cake is actually going to be the proper placement for me to see and consume an ad on automotive for myself. So that's why it's so important to partner with the device instead of the app, because you're targeting the household.
Imagine turning every screen into a gateway for customer engagement. Today on Facts Not Feelings, we are diving into the revolution of automotive advertising with streaming TV. Join me, Brooke Furniss, as we explore with James Klaus, who is the president of Loon Advertising, not to be confused with Loom Advertising, which I've said multiple times because I use that product all the time. Story for another day. But we're going to look into how streaming platforms and advanced targeting and are redefining the way dealerships connect with customers. From the precision of digital strategies to the impact of data on ROI, get ready to discover how to harness the full power of streaming TV in the automotive industry. James, welcome into the show, buddy. How you doing?
I am doing phenomenal, Brooke. Thanks for having me. What an honor.
And this has been a little bit in the making. And I think the last time that we did anything together was that you doing like a Where's Waldo on Micah in Detroit. And I think before that was like MRC when you're still at Vistadash, I want to say. Is that correct?
We also did one. We did a podcast at NADA.
That's right. That's right.
And when you set up the podcast, you make sure that all of your guests had to wear sunglasses and stare into the Las Vegas sun at 102-degree heat.
It was so hot. Oh, there's so many technical glitches. I mean, everything was like melting. My camera ended up stopped working. Everything stopped working. We had to change the set a couple different times. Yeah, and it went from like what felt like 102, like we were on the sun, to so cold. Like Dealer World had these little scarves. I'm not sure remember these. And we were like the last guest of the days was Veronica. And we were like bundled up in these scarves. I'm sorry, she was the second to last. And at the last one was Mark Ferguson. And I was like, between the coldness and that I've done 30 interviews and have no voice and sound like Cookie Monster, I need an old fashioned. And that's how we ended the show. So.
Hey, it's not a bad way to end the show. And you guys did have an awesome setup. It's just, it's tough when you're staring at the sun. So, and
yes,
everybody shows up in their little sport coats and everything. And then you stare at the sun, and conference hall 62 degrees. The porch was 104 degrees. So, hey, if nothing else, it had to be a lot of fun to watch. You literally got to make all of your guests sweat just a little bit.
A little bit. It's true. That's what we were going for. No, it was nuts, man. I went from having the jacket to like, this is so hot. I'm like sweating through everything. So I just had like a tank top on, and then eventually got back to the jacket. But we experienced all seasons in a matter of 4 hours there. So yeah, it was good time. But yes, that was the last one we did together. I apologize. It was then. So, which I think I still owe you that video. I think you asked for it a while ago. I'll get it over to you.
That's fine. And the other one, though, I did, full transparency, have a little fun because it was at the Renaissance Tower, and me and Michael were in town together at the Renaissance in Detroit. And I had this great idea. I was like, you gotta do the podcast with Brooke. You got to do it down here on the floor of the Renaissance Tower so they can see the new Corvette and the new cars and see the energy. Unfortunately, the spot he picked was where like the field trip into the Renaissance Center were. So if you remember, I got in line with one of the field trips and started walking behind you. Not maybe my most professional moment, but a very human moment.
No. It was so good. It was so good. I remember like trying to like keep a straight face, and I was like, there's no way. Like, I'm gone. This is phenomenal. But with that, we are going to talk about streaming TV here. And so let's start with like the basics. I'll say basics, like big picture here, but can you explain the unique benefits that streaming TV advertising offers automotive dealerships, especially compared to traditional TV advertising?
Absolutely. And it's a great question. And it's something that we at Loon are really, really focused on educating dealers on. So a lot of people are coming into this programmatic streaming TV, OTT, space. What we haven't done is educate the dealer body on what that actually means for them, right? And how this is different. So most dealers that you talk to have been doing, linear or traditional TV for a long time, and print and radio as well. And what streaming does is it brings that big screen experience to that shopper. But the major difference is the targeting, the measurement, the delivery, the creative, and ultimately the specific both first party and other audiences that we can pull in. When people say, hey, James, what is the major difference between linear TV or what traditional advertising and the current OTT DSP space is targeting, and targeting one-to-one. So spray and pray is done, right? And what's really come in is hardcore targeted traffic via OTT, streaming, online video, etc., making sure that your message actually reaches the target audience with no fraud. So the major advantage is, one, dealers will actually know how their ad dollars were spent and will be able to measure it as well using both their first party data and other data sources.
There is so much to unpack with that very first question. Like, I'm like going through like making like mental checklists of things like, okay, this and this I moved this past year, well, it's actually last year at this point when this actually airs here. And I've cut the cord. I'm all streaming everything. And it's very interesting, even though I have the Comcast and Xfinity app on my TV and I was streaming from my phone, the ads that I get are completely different than the person that's got Xfinity that's in Chicago. Like, they're completely different. And I started noticing, like, I'm seeing the same, like, 4 commercials over and over again. And it's only on, certain platforms, but it is like I always use the example, like when back in the day when I was at a dealership or helping people through this, to say, okay, so we're all watching Monday Night Football, right? Why am I getting served with the exact same ad that my neighbor is? And then that neighbor is getting the same ad. Like, we're all in different parts of our customer journey. So why are we getting served the exact same ad? That makes no sense to me at all. Like, we really do need to cater it that, hey, Brooke's looking at an SUV or truck. Oh, she's looking at service, or she's looking, now she's at a sedan. Like, every single person should get something tailored to them. And I want to touch, and I don't know if I don't think this is in the show notes here, but you brought up the fraud portion of it. That's a hot button with mine. Because so many people will go to Amazon and be like trying to find the information in Google Analytics. I'm like, I hate to call you an idiot, but you're an idiot. Like, you're not going to find it there. Google, as much as I love Google Analytics, it's not going to take that fraudulent traffic out of there. What do you want to call it? Fraudulent traffic? What do you want to call it? Whatever you want to call it, but it's not real traffic. And that is where you need something. You do need some type of Amazon dashboard to see that. So please, before we get any further, if you're trying to measure your Amazon traffic, Google Analytics, for the love of all that's holy, please stop doing that. Okay, I'm done with my rant here, James.
No, that's fantastic. And to go one step further, it is a classic square peg round hole scenario when you try to do that. And one thing this is on us. This is on the people that are serving car dealers in 2024, 2025, 2026 to educate them on these things, right? Shame on any provider that allows their campaigns on OTT out of Amazon DSP, DV360, whatever that DSP may be. It doesn't make sense, right? You're trying to manage something or measure something in the wrong reporting mechanism. So you have to look at outside reporting mechanisms and how those unique reporting mechanisms actually serve the dealer. GA4 is not the answer to measure programmatic marketing. And that's okay. And we as an industry need to be okay with the fact that GA4 does not solve all of our problems, right?
No.
GA4 is a work in progress, and it will always be a work in progress, right? And it's a constant work in progress, and that's okay. But there's other opportunities for dealers out there to measure. And if it's okay with you, Brooke, I'll go a little bit deeper on that.
Bring it.
Okay. So what we do for measurement is we do a couple different things. One, we have the Amazon ad tag that gets put on a dealer's website. So Amazon can create retargeting audiences and things like that off of there. Um, but when it comes to measurement, we really want to look at what business case did this help you solve? So let's look at a unique business case. Let's say, hey, James, I want to run some OTT with Loon, some online video with Loon, maybe a little programmatic display, maybe some, streaming audio, because those are all things that, we offer. But then we say, how are we going to measure it? Well, we have two options on how we're going to measure that right off the bat. The first one is through Polk. So we ingest into what's called a clean room, Brooke, every Polk sale in the United States of America. So that's every new car sale, every used car sale. And when that data comes into our system and into the clean room, we can identify all of those people down to their unique Amazon ID, because that's what the clean room does. So it's going to take Brooke's first name, Brooke's last name, Brooke's address, et cetera, into the clean room and match that up to you on Amazon. So boom, you're going to get a match on that clean room. Now, the DSP knows every impression it served on all the different ad campaigns I just talked about, whether OTT, whether online video, et cetera. So from there, when we see that Brooke bought a car from ABC Ford, and Brooke got served an impression on the big screen from, ABC Ford, who does business with us, and then saw an online video from us on behalf of ABC Ford, we know and we can report that we had an exposure to you that helped in the process of buying a car. Notice I used a term there, though, Brooke, and I hope you appreciate it.
Process?
An exposure that assisted the process or the media mix. One thing about doing business with Loon and what we tend to talk to our clients about is the unique business case that brought you here. So if you call us and you say, hey, run some OTT, we're going to have a lot of questions back for you. And we're going to want to know why. Why did you come here? Why did you do this, et cetera? But once we get all that handled, and now we can pull in that Polk attribution report, you can see, who bought a car and got served an exposure. And that media mix could be the big screen and then online video, maybe some social media. I don't do social media, but it's very valuable, right? Maybe some display. Then the next thing you know, where's it all end? In a Google search. So paid search might have a piece of this as well. One of the things I want to make sure everybody understands is we'll tell you what exposures helped in that process. But remember, this is a full media mix. And only with a full media mix, capturing that search intent that OTT can help create, that's how we get successful. I'll give you one more example. It's not just for sales. It's for leads and everything else as well. So let's say we're working with a dealership and they had 1,000 leads come into their BDC that month. We ingest in that first party data on those 1,000 leads from our client, right? Comes into the clean room. We can match those 1,000 leads to Amazon users. When we look at that match rate, let's say it's 85%. So 850 of the 1,000 leads were matched to an Amazon user. Of that 850, we can identify 250 of those leads were exposed to an ad that we created. So we can report all of this back. Now let's go one step even further, ingesting in that sales data from the store. Let's say they sold 200 cars. Same concept. Comes into the clean room, matches the Amazon users. Let's say it's 180 or whatever that matches. Of those, 30 people that bought a car were exposed to one of the ads that we created. So the dealers can see the targeting is right and that people are doing this. But the other cool thing that happens with the clean room is, what about all those leads that didn't buy a car? Well, that becomes a new audience that gets pushed back to the Amazon DSP on a one-to-one setting to make sure you get targeted or retargeted with the right message in both OTT, display, online video, streaming radio. So that way it's not just about attribution coming into the clean room. It's about audience creation. And I'll go deeper into audience creation in a little bit.
Now it's a ton of information there. Like I'm hoping everyone's like taking notes or go back and watch this later. But I know we're also throwing around some terms because we have more acronyms than NASA. So for those who are like, you've said something called DSP and DV360. Just quickly explain what those are. So anyone that's
Okay.
of this stuff, I know.
Yes, I apologize. And and if I'm going to talk about education, I should probably educate. Well, good call out. So a DSP, or a demand side platform, right? That's what Amazon runs, their programmatic marketing out of. Roku has a DSP. Samsung has a DSP. There's a lot of DSPs out there, and they bid on inventory that they can buy from what's called a SSP, or a supply side platform. So you optimize your DSP. Amazon DSP is our bread and butter. We also use DV360, so we have YouTube TV as well. Plus, we have access to Charter and Spectrum and a lot of other things there, their inventory. But when I say DSP, just think of demand side platform, which is a really fancy way of just saying ad network.
Ad network, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
and that ad network bids on inventory out of an SSP, or a supply side platform that houses the inventory. So that's where you get access on individualized programs or individualized channels or things like that.
So because there are so many different DSPs out there, now that we know what the definition is, there are so many options out there, whether it's DV360, whether it's Amazon, whatever it's going to be, what factors should dealers consider when they're choosing the right platform for their advertising needs?
It's a great question. So first, you got to look at, who are we trying to reach, right? And so for me personally, my two favorite are Amazon DSP and DV360, because if you partner Google and Amazon, I don't know many people I can't reach, because we've got almost everybody there, right? When you're considering which to partner with, we made a very specific decision at Loon to partner with the device, not with the application. And I'll go deeper into that. A device is the operating system. So think Fire TV, think YouTube TV, right? These are operating systems that operate not just, their OTT or their app, but they control the operating system on a whole TV, right? So you partner with the device like Amazon, and what happens is a lot of TVs, their native operating system is a Fire TV, because Amazon knows that that's very valuable. And what happens there is, if you're Paramount, your Hulu, your Netflix, your whatever, and you want your app to be on a Fire TV, you have to make an agreement with Amazon to provide X amount of your inventory to them, or they're not going to put your app on their operating system.
Mhm.
So, but the other thing with that is very exciting. So when you partner, say, with Loon, and you turn on your TV and you see 50 different apps up there, it's Fire TV. You have access to the inventory on every application that you see. So that's if you partner with the device or the operating system. The other option is to partner directly with the app. Partnering directly with the app would be kind of like once upon a time in traditional marketing, when you bought from Fox 9, and then you bought from, NBC 12, and then you bought from ABC 6, right? And you had to do individuals. Those would be the apps now, right? On an operating system. Or wouldn't it be better to partner with the device, get access to all the apps, and serve your message regardless of what people are watching? And I'll go one step further on that. I'll use myself as an example. And I'm going to use kind of something we were talking about earlier. I am a Midwestern hockey and basketball dad, right? I am huge into sports. I am a massive golfer. I am a huge Detroit Lions fan. Have been my whole life. Was a Detroit Lions fan before it was cool.
Cool. Also great shirts, by the way. Yes.
Well, but it's true. I mean, I was a Detroit Lions fan since the day I was born. So, I've only seen a handful of winning seasons.
Yeah.
But
I feel your pain. Yes.
But so traditionally, if I said, hey, Brooke, where would you want to put an ad to get in front of me? You'd probably say, what would you say?
If you're traditional, you're going to be like news and sports.
News and sports. You're absolutely right. Now, I have a 9-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old daughter, soon to be 10 and 12. There's this show out there called Is It Cake? You seen Is It Cake?
So good. I love it.
All right. So this is going to resound with you because I don't think you're going to fall into an audience that people would think, oh, we got to get placement on Is It Cake?
Is
right?
It Cake? Yes.
Look, at 8:30 p.m., when we're doing homework at the house and eating dinner and it's a bit chaotic and where kids are running to and from practices, Is It Cake tends to be up on the big screen. If you're trying to get your message in front of me, traditionally you'd say ESPN, Monday Night Football. You would say, live news and sports. However, Is It Cake is actually going to be the proper placement for me to see and consume an ad on automotive for myself. So that's why it's so important to partner with the device instead of the app, because you're targeting the household. When you target the household, you don't care what show's playing on the big screen.
No.
You care that your message is showing to the right people in the household.
Yeah.
And making sure they can consume it that way. So it's a little bit different, but that's why you want to partner with the device, because you get access to everything regardless of your preconceived notions, because you got to go with your facts, not the feelings, bro.
So it turns out it's a great name of a podcast. I probably should start something like that. No, I was talking to a mutual friend of ours, Tara Rigo. This is probably like 3 years ago. At least it might have been longer than that. And they had done a study, and it was just interesting to see the findings. And the first thing she goes, we saw a lot of people watching Nickelodeon around 9 p.m. And the dealerships were like freaking out. And I go, that's Friends. Like, if you're an adult, you're watching that. Like, I don't know why it's like Nick at Night now. Like, it dates us, but I go, and they weren't expecting that. I'm like, if you were just said, hey, I'm just going to do ESPN, I'm going to do Monday night, the traditional news and sports, you are going to miss out on to know that, hey, for them, that was their prime audience, was at 9 o'clock from 9 until midnight on Nickelodeon. They also saw like, okay, for this area of geographical region, that it was more on, talking about soccer channels and soccer games, but it was not in English. It was always in Spanish. And so these little things are like, okay, if I only do the app, this is the problem, because there's so much more that tells a story on where the consumer is. And we, to your point, is we get these preconceived notions that, oh, it's always been done this way, so therefore it must still be doing this way. So that's what we're talking about, being able to target things so well. How does the streaming TV stand out in terms of audience targeting, particularly when aiming to reach specific customers and segments?
Oh, great question. So let's start off with we'll focus on Amazon on this question, because I think Amazon has the best data on consumers than any other platform that I've come across. And I have been searching in them all, right? Because I am down the rabbit hole of programmatic, right? I want to figure out what's best for our customers. So I'll ask you a series of questions about Amazon. Do you have an Amazon account?
Yes, sure do.
You have an Amazon account. Beautiful, right? You and 85% of all American households have an Amazon account. So that's a pretty good data set of people using Amazon. Now, let me ask you another question. Does Amazon have your home address?
Not only home address, they knew I was moving before the post office knew I was moving, and had stuff shipped to my condo before the post office knew I was moving. Yes, because I willingly give that information up to them.
Well, that's perfect. I actually use that story when I talk to people, not yours specifically, but from other people, because like it's just what you're talking about is when people move, the first address they change is Amazon, because the shipping of all the goods coming to them needs to go to the right address. So when you ask somebody, hey, who did you tell first, Amazon or the DMV? Amazon wins.
Amazon.
The one that really shocks me that always wins, Amazon or credit card company. Amazon, right? Like across the board. So that provides a ton of value. One, we know exactly where your physical address is, which means you can target zip codes. You can target physical addresses. You can leave out zip codes. So you have a lot of power there. So that's that. Amazon, where do you live? Check that box. If you move, check that box. We know where you're at, right? Or I should say Amazon. Now, next question. When you log into Amazon, Are you mad when they show you things that you actually want? So you're on Amazon.com, you look up and they've got a bunch of things for you to buy. Are you like, oh,
this sucks, man. It sucks.
no, you're like, that's good.
Yeah.
Why? Amazon's the only, but think about it. In a world that we're in 2025, the world's wild. Why do we allow Amazon to serve us the way we want to be served? We're okay with Amazon saying, hey, Brooke, this is what you're going to buy next.
Yeah.
And it's because your portfolio and your profile and your Amazon identifier is good because they know what you've been buying. They know what you shop for. They know your tendencies. They know your life stage. They know so much about you. So
yes, they do.
The audiences that we can pull out of the Amazon DSP are limitless. And we use those every single day. Right now, there's 200 million plus vehicles in the Amazon garage where I can target a zip code, a radius, a geo, whatever I want, and come back to our dealer partners and say, hey, there are 417,000 Ford F-150s within 30 miles of your dealership. Would you like to target market to those customers? And we know their year, their make, their model that they're driving. We know where they physically live, and we know the life stages they're going through, etc. So the Amazon audiences are absolutely phenomenal. Now, one step further. We then layer in our dealers' first-party audiences on top. Yeah. That is the most valuable data that you can get ever. Amen. And we work with some really amazing dealers, and we're very blessed for that. So we ingest in their first-party data and think about things like this. When you talk about data ingestion, I'm going to talk about service for a second. Not many dealers in this country are doing much with unsold service ROs.
Do not give me 20% of people have an open recall right now. So yeah.
So with that being said, we ingest in every unsold service RO for the last 6 months and then target market to those people, letting them know they can come back in for service because they might have been, wow, that's a big bill, or hey, I need to go shop it, or oh, I didn't understand. And then out of sight, out of mind. What are we doing to stay in front of those people? Mm-hmm. Or ingesting in a sales list of customers who haven't bought another car in 3 years. Why wouldn't we use that?
Yeah.
Service customers with no sales purchase in the last 2 years. Why wouldn't we target all those people? Sales customers with no servicing in the last 2 years. Why are we not targeting that? So we can, one, use Amazon data, but two, that first party dealer data is so valuable. And I will tell you, when you build a clean room over the Amazon Marketing Cloud, you have to go through a lot of compliance. And you have to go through a lot of security testing, et cetera. So we've done all that. We hash all that information, and we can put that right into our system. It's extremely secure. We've passed everything. So that provides a ton. And then on top of that, there's other data out there. And we're always looking at new data sources to figure out what works best for our dealers. And that's what separates a really, really good OTT provider or streaming TV from a programmatic, whatever we want to call it, versus just kind of, hey, I bought some ads from this OTT company and I say, hey, where? What did you do? What was the placement? What was the creative? How was it tagged? How are we measuring it? And they go, no, they just said they were going to run it.
No. Or, and I can't go into detail on this one. Do you know the situation? Or some wonderful company decides to charge a dealership an exorbitant amount of money and then never runs a single ad. That's also out there. That's a big problem. Like my next question is about challenges. I was like, no, we're just going to go straight to we'll jump right into this. But that's a very, very real problem. And it has been for a while. People charging. There's some great companies out there. Some great people like James and Loon here. There's also some people that give the rest of the industry a bad name. And so I just plead and implore with you. If you're doing something like this and you're doing some type of OTT, you're doing Amazon, whatever it may be, find a way to get as much detail and reporting about this and then really investigate to make sure that they are in fact running an ad. If you are not sending over a single ad for the provider, they probably aren't running them. If they don't talk to you about it, they probably are not running them for you. So with that, what other challenges do you see with when you're trying to integrate the marketing, streaming TV into existing marketing strategies? Because there are some challenges here.
Yes. The the cool thing is you can finally match it all up, right? But the biggest challenge dealers face on OTT is creative. Creative is something that we on the partner side, on the vendor side, we expect dealers to be able to come up with all their creative and be experts on that. And that is a very naive way to do business with dealerships. If you really want to tell me if I know right away, like you don't get auto, is when you ask things of dealerships that anyone who's been in a dealer group or worked in stores knows like they don't have that capability. Maybe 3 stores in America do, but that's it. So the first thing you have to do is you have to help them and educate them on what it takes to actually activate a campaign, right? So you have to go through I hate to say it, a robust onboarding experience to figure out where the dealership needs education and needs assistance. And then you need to tailor what you do for them around their knowledge and limitations. Mm-hmm. And I have some that have great creative. Great, we'll use that. But the ones that don't, I have to have a solution for that. So we have Creative Studio. I can create OTT ads, online video ads, display ads on behalf of our dealers. Because if I'm going to truly serve them, I have to be able to serve them creative too, not just make media placements, right? So you got to help them on that. And then 2 is that education on how you grade this. Because one thing I do and we do at Loon that's a little different is we actually will come out and say, this is going to be complementary to your other marketing. We need to know what's going on with your other marketing. Because one thing OTT and streaming can do that's very rare is it can help create search demand.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people don't think about that. So I need to know what's hard. What doesn't have search demand? I don't know if I need to help a dealer in South Dakota sell an F-150.
Probably
got it. They got it, right? However, a Ford Escape, harder sale with the Bronco out there, etc. So we work with the dealers and say, okay, what do we got to do on this specific vehicle? But overall, the things that the dealers struggle with is partners talking to them like they've been doing this forever and not educating. And that's an issue. And then helping them with the areas where they need it, and then continuously providing them better and better results. And we have some partners, and these are my favorite partners, that tell me what you're doing on social. Tell me what you're doing on paid search. Tell me what you're doing on these other things, because I can help that. If your big push is on focuses, right, or escapes or whatever, I'll keep with escapes. Tell us that. We'll make our OTT around escapes. Why is it a benefit to you do an escape or buy an escape, et cetera? So what are the problems dealers have? Creative, education, not understanding. And then the last one is, how do I pay for this?
Yep.
And where the money comes from is not paid search. It is not Facebook marketing. It is not Instagram. It's not TikTok, right? This comes from your linear TV budgets, your other OTT budgets, your linear TV budgets, your print, your streaming radio, or your old school radio, or whatever you're doing. That's where the budget comes from. Do not rip all of the things that work for you, like paid search, like social media marketing, because you think there's some silver bullet. And that's something our industry has to stay away from. There is no silver bullet, right? So work with partners that accept the fact that it is a media mix and are willing to work with your other partners and make sure that the dealer wins. You find out a lot about companies when they have to be on a call with all the providers.
Mm-hmm.
I fly to Atlanta this week to go meet with a dealer group that requires every person come in once a quarter to do a true quarterly business review. And that's what it's all about. So those are the struggles. That's what we're here for. We'll handle all that for you. We'll be here. We'll educate. We'll show you. And we'll answer the tough questions with you.
And you touched on a question that I have in here, and I'm just going to kind of graze over it because I know that I get asked a lot. I know that you get asked, okay, well, how much budget should I allocate? Let's are you in Chicago, you're North Dakota? Like that's really, for someone just to blanketly say this is your budget you should spend is not the way to do it, because I don't know what your spend is. What's your point? What's your traditional spend? Let's look at that, because that's where it's going to be coming from. If you know that for some reason, let's say your radio ads work phenomenally well, don't be taken away from that. So if someone's telling you need to spend X and that's, the end all be all, I would question that as well. Yes, you need to spend. It's just like anything. You got to spend enough to make a presence, but there's also probably a law of, let's say, diminishing returns, where I probably don't need to be spending that much, but have that conversation to know what is the appropriate amount for your business, your location, your brand, and what you're doing, because it does make a big, big difference.
Yeah, I'll provide some context on that. I have some phenomenal people here on the team at Loon. I got my buddy Dusty Sutherland. I know you know Dusty as well.
Dusty.
I just added Cody Ritzma, former OEM rep from Stellantis. Very, very solid. But Dusty, when we went down this together, when we were figuring this all out and learning, Dusty does something with the clients that I love so much that we made it part of our process. You say, hey, how much do I spend? That's a very vague question.
Very vague question.
And the first two questions on our onboarding docs, or the first two questions that Dusty asks are, why are we here today? What made you sign up with us? So that's kind of one question. And two, what's the business objective that we're trying to solve? Because I can't provide you any type of estimate if I don't know the problem we're trying to solve. If it's branding, that's much different than low funnel. We need more F-150 sales this month. So what's the business case? What if it's a body shop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Body shop's a pure branding play, right? Because you just need to remember that company after you get in a crash. So what is that unique business case? So that's how we do it. And then we come back with estimates, formalized estimates with the amount of people in your market that would be interested, the amount of garage data, the other audiences we would put on top, and then we provide an estimate. We will not provide blanket estimates because it does no good for the dealer and it provides no value across the board except for just putting some numbers on the page.
Yeah, I will. Yes, I will leave it at that. Yeah. I could definitely talk to you forever. I'm like looking at the clock over here. I'm like, oh my God, it's already been 36 minutes here. So I know there's a lot more questions we were going to talk. So I think we're going to need to do a round 2 of this. I've decided, because there's still so much unpacked. I know we've done shows on Amazon advertising previously. I know we've done ones on OTT and streaming and everything between. This is just, I find more and more that it's just sadly not talked about enough, or talked enough how to really inspect it. So I just want to thank you so much for being on the show and just adding a little bit more clarity on the situation. And if you're okay with that, I think we should do round 2 of this.
I would love to do a round 2. And you kind of got an idea. I think maybe me and you need to do a little digital dealer presentation or something along the lines of our questions. And and it might be fun. So you actually got some good stuff going here. But what I'll say is, be curious, ask tons of questions of your providers. Ask tons. And if they're not coming to you and educating and doing those types of things, start looking around.
We are the Furniss Show. We are jumping into the lightning round with you. So for those that are watching, you can see his QR code below. But for those that are listening to podcast land, how can they find you and how can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Cell phone. I'll put it right out there. 406-595-4818. 406-595-4818. James Klaus. Call, text. I will answer. I am long-winded. 2, you can go to Loon, Loon advertising.com. That's Loon, Loon, like the bird, the state bird of my home state of Minnesota, Loon. You can go to that website. You can also email me at james@loonadvertising.com, or reach out to me, DM me on any of the social medias out there, and I will get back to you very quickly.
And he will, 100%. So name the show's Facts Not Feelings. How do you differentiate facts from feelings? That can be in personal life or it can be in your professional life.
I call Brooke.
No, she's like, she's got a thing up there. She like lets me know here. So.
No, facts not feelings. You got to follow the data. The data is going to tell you the story, right? Like can you prove it? The beautiful thing about a clean room, I can prove it. So I have facts, and then the facts remove the feelings.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Amen. All right. Last question for you, buddy. What is something that most people wouldn't know about you?
All right. Well, I changed this answer between the pre-meeting and right now. Okay. I have a hat addiction. That'll be my comment, right? Is I have a hat addiction. I had so if you look behind me, I have hats. I collect hats from golf courses across the country. I put my favorites up there. So there's Colorado Golf Club, which I absolutely love. Big shout out to my boy James Kirkenbach out there. There's Olympic Hills, there's Northland, there's Back Creek, there's Olympic. There's a lot of awesome. So I have that, but I probably have another 400 to 500 hats just hiding throughout the house that I have because I buy one from every club I go to. So fun fact about me is I have a serious golfing addiction and a serious hat addiction. So if you want to go golfing, I'm your guy to call.
And if you did a hat recommendation, it's like me and shoes. Like, oh, I get it. Yeah. Okay. 400. That sounds about right. Yeah. Okay. So
luckily hats are less expensive than shoes.
But
they're getting more and more expensive. Melon hats are up to like $80 a piece.
See, it's so funny. So it was probably a year ago that I was getting some, talking hockey here, even though you're in Minnesota, get a Blackhawks hat. And I just go, when did hats become $50? Like, I don't remember. I remember like as a kid, the fitted hats were like $18, $22 if you were crazy. I was like, how did we get to $55, $60 for a hat? Like, when did this happen? Not really sure on that one. All right, well, buddy, just once again, thank you so much for being on the show. Thanks for all of your knowledge on this and your fresh new website here, coming off of NADA and having a killer new the Loon Advertising here. With that, everyone, you all know the drill at this point. Find a way to serve. Find a way just to be the joy in someone's life, whether it's opening a car door, whether it's a kind smile, just do something to better someone's life today. And with that, everyone, we'll see everybody next week.